Good Game Pocket Edition, your weekly roundup of all things gaming. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex. It's our first show of the year and we've been playing loads of games, so let's get started. This week we'll be pointing and clicking our way through Tim Schafer's Broken Age, Act 1.
But before all that, we go retro with Risk of Rain. This is a sci-fi roguelike, and while it may have simple graphics, the gameplay is anything but. Your mission is to simply survive. Wave upon wave of increasingly tough aliens will crash upon you, and death is permanent. So the only way that you can survive is to buy as many skills and abilities as you can.
Delicious meat nuggets.
It is a very difficult game, but I found every time I died, when I went back, I just got that little bit further each time, so I put up with that.
Yeah, I like that it isn't only about reflexes. Pushing on to the next level as soon as you find the teleporter almost always means death. So I found myself farming up a good stockpile of cash to buy new abilities with.
Yeah, powering up is critical. You just got to keep on stacking those abilities until you're a powerhouse of devastation. This is a perfect little game for a quick fix session, or if you want to plan a full night of unlocking characters. I had a great time. I gave it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It was 7 from me. We also had a blast with Peggle 2. This pachinko-inspired puzzler has had a facelift on Xbox One, but it stayed true to its roots. Once again, you'll be challenged to crush every last orange peg with just a handful of well-aimed shots. And you can't help but feel like an arcade god every time the triumphant music erupts for that final peg.
During those first levels, I got a bit worried, Hex, because it was almost identical to the first game. But then they started mixing it up with the new Peggle Masters. Each one gives you a different power-up to help clear the board with.
Yeah, those powers really shook things up and completely changed the way I played. You know, this may not look like much, but before I knew it, I was completely hooked on this and playing till wee hours of the morning, so I gave it 8.
I gave it 7.5 out of 10. Next up, Nidhogg. The aim of this two-player dueling game couldn't be simpler. Stab your opponent and then sprint madly for the exit. Each win buys you time to get closer and closer to your goal, but losing lets your opponent drag the conflict back towards the other end.
I couldn't believe how tense the game's standoffs were. Although seeing that explosion of pixels felt so rewarding that it was worth the stress.
Oh, no. Oh.
Oh, did you pick it up?
Oh, wait. I like how you can just leg it.
Oh, no!
Oh, see ya. Oh, no, it's you! Oh, the final duel!
Don't run past me! Head and fight me, you coward! Oh, that was a coward victory.
The victor gets eaten by the worm.
And despite its simplicity, it's such a rapid-fire game that I found it really easy to keep coming back to.
And there are a lot of clever little details, like being able to disarm opponents with a well-timed strike. I did find this game a bit repetitive, and some more online options would have been nice. To be honest, had a lot of laughs out of this game, but it's not something I'll ever return to, so I gave it 6 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I thought it was hilarious and surprisingly strategic. I gave it 7.5. Next, a fish out of water story with a twist. Octodad Dadliest Catch manages to wring a lot of physical comedy from a cephalopod bumbling his way through suburban life. The game's controls are the biggest challenge because you need to control 2 tentacles individually just to walk, and then you need to juggle a 3rd tentacle whenever you pick up anything. This all turns even the simplest chores into slapstick comedy.
Thanks for the milk, Dad!
This game is pretty much a giggle fest. I was laughing the whole way through. Levels like the supermarket are the perfect playground for these slippery controls. There are a few puzzles, but it's really more about the comedy than the challenge. If I had any criticism, I could have done without the annoying stealth levels and the boss fights.
Yeah, I agree those are the game's lowlights, but I think the game's personality just pulled me through. There's just something so appealing about this clumsy octopus doing his best to fit in with family life.
I have a surprise for the whole family. A free trip to the aquarium!
Also, the ending is just gorgeous, so I gave it an 8.
Yeah, despite its frustrating elements, it won me over in the end, and I gave it 7.5. Now, Hex, we should go open up the inbox.
Oh, yeah.
All right, back for another year of questions. What you got, Hex?
Well, how about this one from Apprentice Taco in Requiem in the ACT? Since most games based off movies or TV shows don't end up good, or not working at all, do you think over the years they would get better? Cheerio!
Well, there were a few terrible movie and TV show games last year, like Star Trek and The Walking Dead FPS. So the tradition of the terrible tie-in is still alive and well. But I do actually think tie-in games are generally getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I think Telltale have done a great job with adapting Walking Dead as an adventure game, so I'm really excited to see what they do with their Game of Thrones game, especially after that awful RPG we had.
Yes.
It was so bad.
Yes.
And of course, the South Park game is finally coming out soon, so that's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, the Lego Movie video game will be probably pretty decent too, based on all the other Lego games. You know, there's a good track record there. And I'm actually quite hopeful that Alien Isolation will be a decent Alien game, but I'm also very nervous about it at the same time. It sounds like they've taken ideas from Amnesia and put it in the Alien world, where it's just you against one alien you can't kill. I am totally down for that.
Oh, it'd be terrifying. Well, I guess we'll have to wait for our reviews of those before we'll know if they're actually any good. But speaking of reviews, it's time for You Review! And how about we look at one of last year's most contentious releases, Call of Duty Ghosts.
Ah, yes, and what a response it's had, with well over 500 user reviews.
And this really happened. So the legend goes.
It does seem pretty divisive though, with scores mostly ranging from near perfect to terrible, like this one from Combat Wombat, who wrote, "This is the worst COD of all time. 3 stars.
Or this from Sar Crowning, who says, "Is this the what they so-called next-gen game? 4.5 stars.
Or this scathing review from Crossy, who wrote, "I think Call of Duty Ghosts is bad. 3 stars.
But there was plenty of love for it too, like this one from the Luigi Gamer 99. You were giving this a bad name. It's a stealth game, not one where you just shoot. I think the Black Ops games are the ones that don't care about what they do. Plus, zombies sucks and aliens rule. If you think this is bad, go play Suck Ops 1 and 2. 10 stars.
Well, it didn't really feel like a stealth game to me, Hex, but each to their own. True Skater here wrote, "I don't know what game you guys were playing. I loved it. 9.5 stars.
Kalen Jack 9 also seemed to disagree with us, writing, "WTF, a 5? It should at least get an 8 or 9. Come on, way too harsh. And the Sharks are not invincible. They can be killed after 10 shots, duh." 9.5 stars.
Well, it seems like Ghosts was quite the love it or hate it experience. On that note, we're out of time for this week, so back to the studio, Hex.
Yeah. Broken Age is a point-and-click adventure brought to us by Double Fine. The game has been broken up into 2 parts, with just Act 1 released so far.
The first screen gives you the choice of embarking on one of 2 stories, though you quickly discover you can switch between the 2 narratives as you go, wondering if they'll ever intersect.
Hey, rise and shine, son.
I started on the adventure of Vela, who comes from a town of master bakers that must relinquish 1 person each year to a horrible monster. But then curiosity got the better of me and I flicked over to Shay, a lonely space adventurer stuck in a boring daily cycle, decidedly lacking in any sort of adventure.
Take your time. Eating isn't a race.
Both stories feel really different, but the protagonists share that common drive and resourcefulness that's required of a puzzle solver.
The dialogue is well delivered with a talented voice cast.
Don't worry, I'll figure out how to get you out of there soon.
Elijah Wood, Jennifer Hale,
All missions are cancelled.
even some like Jack Black make their Double Fine return.
A fresh face rises from below.
Both of these stories are charming and well written, with tons of wacky humor and originality.
It looks terrible on you. Might cost you the election.
Please, whom am I to trust? My highly paid stylist or a girl wearing half a dress?
With each narrative, you'll be combining items to solve problems, but often the answer is quite simple, so it's worthwhile not overthinking it too much. Always try the most obvious solution first. One thing I did really like about these dual storylines, though, is that if I did get stuck or bored on a particular puzzle, then I could just flick over to the other story for a while and spend time in that world, freeing up my brain to tackle a different problem.
The puzzles aren't too taxing, are they? Which may disappoint some. There are plenty of vocal cues if you do get stuck and unsure of where to go. It'll lead you in the right direction. But there's such wonderful storytelling going on that I think this is a case of the focus being on that wonderful adventure rather than really mind-bending puzzle challenges. But in order to achieve your goal, you need to work with and help loads of other characters along the way, creating those really lovely moments of interaction.
Come here and help me!
All in all, I think Double Fine delivered in spectacular fashion with this first act. There's a wonderful mix of simplicity in the style and execution of Broken Age, with what turns out to be quite sophisticated storytelling and consequence of action. I had a few ideas about how this first act was going to pan out, but you're never really sure.
No, nothing is what it seems, and every character is so weird and wonderful. I was just so taken in by this art style. It's just beautiful.
Man, that sign really did not do this thing justice.
I gave it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it's such a creative and unusual world to explore, and there's a really cool ending that'll definitely leave you wanting more. I adored this. I can't wait for Act 2. I gave it 9 out of 10 as well. Well, that's all the time we have for this week, but don't forget you can tune in to regular episodes of Good Game every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. on ABC2.
Yes, and next week we're going to be creeping through the shadows with Thief.
First game of the year to dust off my archery skills.
Well, hopefully it will hit the mark.
I see hit the mark.
Come there, because sometimes reboots don't, and then Bajo out.
X out.